Hi again, Steve Malmgren. Just want to kind of wrap up the scripting portion of our customizer demos. So one thing I talked about is, how do we find some, one question I get is, how do you find some references? What are some good places to go? So Google, that's what I do. So if you just look for a VB script reference, the first thing that comes up is the MSDN from Microsoft. Excellent reference. It's got all the information you'd ever hope to know about functions and keywords. So very useful for if you want to know how to convert something to a Boolean. If you don't know what a Boolean is, I can't really help you with that. But actually, a Boolean is just a true/false for those of you who don't know. And we saw that in one of our scripts where we're checking to see if I'm at the end of file. Anyway, it's an excellent reference, and you can find a lot of stuff that you need. Another thing is somebody said, can we create an appointment in Outlook? So I just search for VB script create appointment, and there's you can pretty much find some sample code out there and figure out how to create your own appointment using VB script. So there's lots of stuff out there. Just use Google. You can find just about anything you need to. So I just want to touch on that a bit. Some additional scripts we want to cover. Just some of the ones I did. We've gone through quite a few of these, but let's go into customer maintenance. I just want to show you one that I've done. Somebody that's people have asked for. Didn't get to cover this at the session at Insights. What I've done here is I've added some project codes, and what I've got here is I've got a little view contract button, which just goes out and takes a look at a contract. It's just a PDF, and I'll show you how we've done that. And then this is like how to send that contract as an email. So you just click on this little button here, and it sends an email with the attachment on there. So let's go take a look at those two scripts. First, let's go Control F9 and take a look at what we've done there. So if I look at this button here, this is a VB script, and I'm using the UDF Project 1 and Project 2. So I'm going to bring this up in Notepad. So this is the show contract. And let me just show you what this looks like. And the reason I'm passing both these both projects, and I just wanted to show you one thing you can do. So I set a variable called document path equal to the home working directory, and then I put another directory under there called contracts, and that's where I'm going to store all my contracts. And I've got a naming convention that's just going to be the project number plus .pdf, or this is an appending basically. So I'm taking this, whatever value is coming in from project 1, which was ABF bath or ABF kitchen, and I've got a document sitting out there in my contracts directory. If we go take a look at this, I believe it's under Home Contracts. I have these two PDF documents out there. Okay, so all that's doing is saying what my PDF file is going to be. Now what I'm doing here is saying where was the BT Link 1, because I've got two BT Link buttons on there, one for Project 1, one for Project 2. So I could have written and copied this script into multiple times and just done it once, but that's what we. This is how I chose to do it, just so I could show you that this is another variable coming into you, which is the name of the button that actually invoked this script. So you can condition it based on which button was pushed. Anyway, then I'm just taking this Windows script and shell object, which is part of Windows, and I run, which is a method of this shell object, and then this character 34, that's actually a quote, so I'm embedding this whole thing in quotes, because if my install path is like program space files, those all need to be quoted. So and that just goes ahead and runs. And so that's how we go ahead and display a document. Now that's going to work for a bitmap or an AVI or anything else that you want. It works based on the file associations in Windows. Okay, that's what that W-script shell. Okay, so that's how we actually show a document. So let's go back and take a look at how we email a document. So I'm going to open this with Notepad as well. And same technique. I'm bringing both projects in, then I'm looking to see which button I'm pressing it with, and I'm still pointing to the same project. So this portion of it is still the same, where I'm figuring out what the name of the PDF file is going to be. But here I'm actually going to create an object for the Outlook application, and you can find documentation from this by Googling as well. In fact, I Googled how to send. And I need to do this create item method, which is a method of this Outlook application. And I'm going to say this with construct that says all of these dots are actually methods or properties of this object mail object. So with says using this object, set this property, invoke this method. So this is just my subject line. My to is the customer business email address. So that could be a contact wherever you need to get that email address from. Or you could just fire one off without a to and type it in by yourself. It's all up to you. And then I have an attachments.add method, and that's where I say I want to add this PDF file as an attachment. I put some body in the text, and then I invoke the display method. I could have easily just invoked the send method and not even brought the brought the email dialog up. But in that case, I better have a valid to address. Okay, and that's really all there is to send that email. Let's see, one last one. Let me show you something else that I've got. So if I go into invoice history inquiry, let me show you what I've got here. I need to find one that I can actually do it on. Maybe this. So this is a sales order line. What I've done here is I've added a button called Generate RMA. So what that does, okay, so this one actually didn't work, and we'll get into why in a sec. Well, let's just show you why. So I think this is for O1ABF. If I was to choose invoice 67, so that's why this actually kind of failed, but it did bring up the form. Let me see if I can find one that's actually going to do this for me. So we know 6655 doesn't work. How about this guy? Okay, and so this thing just went ahead and generated the RMA and brought the user interface up. So let me show you the script code behind that and how I actually did that. So if I look at my create RMA, bring that up in Notepad. This uses the business object interface. It's going to create a script object, doing the initialize. Do the log on, make sure you have rights to return entry. And then what I'm doing here is I'm saying in the business object scripting course in terms of how to interact with our objects. But there's a method to get the next available RMA number. I could have also just made up my own RMA and set it in there as well if you want some specific naming convention for how to create these. But when I get this next RMA number, it's coming back in a variable called temp RMA. Then it invokes the set key method, which is basically a way to either bring up an existing RMA or create a new one. So that's all that does. Then I'm setting the division, the customer, based on the values coming in. I say I need to add a line, which, by the way, creates a new line, and there's a property of the RMA header object called lines. And this is going to be the same for all of our header details. So whether you're working on a sales order, cash receipt, manual check, whatever it is, it's going to be header dot O lines, O meaning an object pointer as opposed to just a numeric. And then we're setting variables into the invoice number, the header sequence number, the detail sequence number that are coming from the invoice history record that I'm on, as well as the item number and quantity returned. We go ahead and write the line, write the header, and then we're done with that object. And then I say, I could have been done with it just at that point and say I've created it and just leave it there. But instead I wanted to go ahead and bring up the user interface. So I use the invoke program method of the session object to bring up RA return UI, passing in the RMA number that I just created. And that's how I get it to bring up this form already populated. Right? So the first thing where I actually wrote the header, did that all without a user interface, and then the second. So just want to kind of give you an idea of some of the things that you could do with the business object interface to kind of improve workflow, do some things programmatically. I could have also actually generated another sales order if I was actually going to take this one back and ship out another one. Could have done that all programmatically as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what's possible. I know it's a lot to take in. I will say, the whole caveat that you really do need to take the business object interface course. This is written down and dirty. Really, we should be checking the return values on each of these and making sure that they succeeded. These set values, if I put in a bogus item code, maybe one that wasn't on file anymore, this would return back a 0, and there would be a property called last error. This is this is to serve as an example, certainly not production ready. Anyway, that concludes our customizer scripting. I think that concludes our entire session. So I'm going to get these guys sent out to you.